When you live in a small town, everyone knows where you've been and what you have done. I've been trying to leave this old town since I...
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zeta.
And I'm Kelly, and you're listening to
Two Sides and the Truth.
Catching up time, and Kelly and I, if you pay attention to our social media, probably saw some pictures of a downed tree in my front yard. So, were we recording when that happened? Is that what we were doing?
I don't know if we were. I think that was just the day that we hung out.
Oh, okay. So Kelly's over here.
And we were brainstorming.
That is what we were doing. Yeah, I don't even remember everything we brainstormed about anymore. Thank God you take notes.
I know, right? I've learned.
Just in one ear and out the other with me. Bless my heart. And anyway, so we're upstairs. My bedroom is upstairs, and that's where we record. And it's almost like a different house. Like you're in a different house. And Zol comes up. He's like, "Mom, a tree just fell on your truck."
Yeah. We're like, what?
I'm like, what? And so I usually Rick parks on the side of the house and I park in the front, and I kind of park up next to the house because it gives my truck shade. And that's why I like that spot. And but I had not parked real close to the fence like I normally do because some birds the other day just went wild taking a shit on my truck. And it was so bad that I was on my way to pick up Zoe from work, and shit, I think I told this story, shit just flying off the front of the truck. So I hadn't parked as close up because I'm thinking there's a bird living up there, something's up there. So I parked back a little bit further than I did. And then Kelly comes over and she parks behind me, but not as far up as you normally would.
Yeah, because I usually, whenever I come and I park behind you, I give you space so that if we go somewhere, you have room to get out around me.
Yeah.
So, and I had noticed that you didn't pull up as far as you usually are. So I made sure that I didn't pull up very far because I didn't want to block you in. So I was like almost to the sidewalk, but I'll try to shimmy in there.
And so we come outside, and sure enough, my damn tree has fallen over. And it wasn't even the tree I thought. I thought it was going to be the tree that the birds were in.
Yeah.
And because I was still under part of it, just not the whole thing. And so then I come outside, and no, it's my favorite tree. I really like that front yard tree.
Yeah.
And this one branch fell over and narrowly missed both our vehicles. Like, it's crazy.
It really is.
It was right in between the two vehicles. We were very lucky.
Yeah.
Because I think if it had been any other time, it would have been your car that got hurt.
Yeah.
It would have gotten the windshield.
Because if you would have been where you normally park, I would have been up a couple more feet.
Yeah.
And it would have fallen directly on my car.
It's crazy. That worked out really good. So then, so for the next 24 hours, I had to back out, using around it. Thankfully, I could still park in my spot. It was kind of funny. It was like I was hidden behind a tree. And so finally, I'm like, Rick, are you going to go, deal with this tree situation? And so the next day he goes out there with his chainsaw, and because he was fishing when all this happened, so he wasn't home. He went fishing overnight. He didn't come home till 2 a.m. or something. And so he goes out there with his chainsaw, and he's,
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to go look. Because what is hotter than a man cutting wood with a chainsaw?
I know.
Maybe an axe. Okay, maybe. And he does that in the backyard when he does the wood. So
either way, I want to watch.
Yeah. So I go to check out my man, and I'm sitting there looking out the window at him. I really am. I'm like, yeah, he's killing it. And he didn't chop the whole tree down, just the limb that broke. And so Zol is playing video games in the living room, and he was watching me, and he was like, Mom, what are you doing? Will you stop? And I was like,
being a stalker.
I said, do you see that, man? And he goes, I know. It's very manly, Mom. It's very manly. I was like, it sure is. I just love that.
Yeah. That's like the picture that needs to be in the dictionary beside manly.
Yeah, just chainsawing it. Yeah.
A good-looking man with power tools, hacking away at a tree.
I love it, yeah. He looked wonderful. And his birthday was on Monday, and I really struggle at getting him a birthday gift. We've discussed.
We tried. Oh, that's one of the things we did that day. Is
Yes.
You tried to go get him a birthday gift, but
did.
you ended up giving yourself
I bought myself a birthday gift.
That's always what happens to me when I try to go shop for somebody else. I don't find anything for them.
I love my birthday gift to Rick for myself
Right.
so much. It has been, I'll talk about it in a minute, but it has been sitting on the dining room table, and I cannot stop staring at it. I like to look at every part of it. Anyway, so I'm, that's a different subject. So I'm like, I got to get him something. And I just could not come up with anything as usual. And I'll just not get him something rather than get him something and waste my money because he'll tell me to take it back. Like he's not a good gift receiver either. He's not a dick about it.
What am I going to do with this shit?
Yeah, he's not a dick about it. He's just like, I just don't want you wasting your money. Like he buys himself anything he wants, you know?
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, he came back from his mom's house and she had found a stack of CDs in her garage or something that she thought were his, like from high school or something. And in the stack was was Nirvana Unplugged. And Mr. Country Boy Rick, he likes two kinds of music. He likes country and he likes rock and roll. He likes rock and roll, but like 70s rock and roll. That's pretty much it. Except Master P. He loves him some Master P. And every once in a while, I'll catch him singing the Beastie Boys.
Oh.
And then he likes Nirvana Unplugged. He doesn't like all Nirvana.
Very specific.
He specifically likes Nirvana Unplugged.
Okay.
And so he found, when his mom gave him those CDs, there was a Nirvana Unplugged shell. And so he thought the CD was in there. So he gets home, and in his garage, he has, that's his man cave, and he has like this CD player that he uses. It's an old school stereo. So it's a really good stereo. It's just a CD player and a radio. He uses it every day. So he opens that CD, he's all excited. No
It's
CD
not in there. Oh, man.
So then he looks
What a
through all
letdown.
the other cases, hoping that at some point somebody was like, you know how you do
just
that.
put it away in the wrong case.
It was not in there. And so then I came out there and he was like, oh my God, I was so excited. Like he was let down. And so that was it. I was like, I have to get him.
You were on a quest.
I have got to get this. Yeah. So I did. I got him the Nirvana Unplugged CD. And it is the first time I have ever gotten him a gift I think he liked. He was so fucking excited.
Aw, that's so
And
good.
immediately went to the garage and put it in. And then he was singing and dancing to Nirvana. And so then we sang and danced together to Nirvana in the garage. And I was like, this is the best gift for both of us,
That's
you
so
know?
sweet.
So he enjoyed that. The other thing, when I mentioned the Beastie Boys, he does things where he has a fake accent.
Yeah.
I've discussed with you. Mm-hmm. He also likes to talk back to you in conversation using lyrics.
Yeah, okay.
And he knows you don't know the lyrics. Like he'll purposely use songs you probably don't know.
It goes right over your head.
Yeah, and he thinks it's funny, and that's all that matters to him. So the other day, when I'm in the kitchen, he is quoting Beastie Boys all day long, and no one else in the house knows what he's doing, except me. And so I'm like just kind of laughing at him, and he's doing it to everybody, and they don't know. Well, Zoll, at the end of the day, one of the songs he was quoting is Paul Revere. That's the name of the song. It's here's a little story,
Yeah.
So anyway, so he goes, he was singing that song or using those lyrics, whatever. And at the end of the day, Zoll's like, Rick's really smart. Like, he's really smart. And I just don't think people realize how smart he is. But sometimes you listen to him and it's just like, wow, he is so smart. He just knows stuff you don't expect him to know. I was like, yeah, he is very smart. I do tell him that all the time. He knows a lot of stuff. He goes, yeah, like I didn't have a clue he would know anything about Paul Revere. I was like, son, I have failed you as a mother.
He knows so much about history.
Oh, I laughed so hard at that. I was just like, I don't know what
I
to
laughed
say
so hard
here.
my headphones just fell off. I had to fix the headphones.
I just didn't even know where to go with that. I was like, valid. Okay.
In a weird way, he does.
He's so smart. He's so smart. I know. Yeah. And so bless his heart, man. I got nothing on that. Let me see. What else did we do? I feel like I was supposed to go to the lake. We're all excited with the lake. But menopause decided that instead I should get my period 2 weeks early. So it ruined the day for everybody that wanted to go to the lake. Because I'm like the glue that holds the family together. No one's going to the lake if I don't go to the lake. Except Rick. He'll go by
totally
himself.
understand
But
that.
he's not taking all them. And they're adults. It's not like we're taking care of toddlers. He just is not doing it.
I almost feel like it's even worse.
Maybe, yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, it might be. I'm about to tell another story that you'll be like, those bitches.
Another reason I didn't.
Have them. Have
Having
bitches.
kids.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm sorry, everybody. I mean, and then I got to like tell my family why I'm not, because, you know,
Yeah.
I'm like, everybody has to start my period. Sorry.
Sorry.
And they're
Shark
like,
Week.
and no one even is phased. And so then Madison calls about something. I'm like, hey, we're not going to Lake. I started my period. She's like, yeah, Dad told me.
I done made it down the grapevine.
I was like, oh, okay, that's good.
He sent out a PSA.
I know. It's like a family group text. No one's going to the lake today. They had to start a period. Sorry. I was like, my life is so hard. I think that's all the exciting news that I think. I mean, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Besides the fact that I want to kill my kids right now, what we were just talking about, this is where the bitches comes in, because it's the first day of school today. This is how my day is gone. First day of school. Can't sleep in. Like, I took the day off. School doesn't start till 8:50.
Yeah. They
at the high
changed the
school.
times.
Yes. Almost 9 a.m.
Yep.
I will have been at work on a normal day for 3 hours before he starts school. That's insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I have plenty of time. Like, I don't need to get up really early because school starts so freaking late. I can't sleep in. 5 o'clock, I'm just wide awake.
Isn't that the worst? On days that you have the time,
I just can't do it.
Your body won't let you sleep in.
So I just laid there till like 5:25, and then I was like, this is pointless. Let me just get up. So I get up, start doing laundry. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make Zoll breakfast for his first day of school, and then I'm gonna do a deep clean. First day of school, you know, fresh from summer, you know.
Yeah.
Kids home, messes
It's a
things
nice
up.
little kickoff.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna do that, and so that's the plan. And then I start cleaning, and I make his breakfast, and I make him a big breakfast. And he goes in his room, and I go to get dressed to take him to school, and I come down, and he has not eaten his breakfast, and I'm like, "Why haven't you eaten your breakfast?" He was like, "No, I'm just not real hungry." And I was like, well, "You're gonna get real hungry, and you have to wait for lunch. Like, you're not used to that." I know, I'm just not real hungry. I was like, okay. So we're ready to go. We take his first day of school picture. It's his first day of school. He's a senior. We take his picture, and then we get not even a quarter mile from the house. And he's like, oh, my stomach kind of hurts.
It's getting to him.
And I'm like, what? And he goes, maybe my anxiety's just getting to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, maybe so. I said, well, do you need me to stop or anything? He was like, no, I'm fine. I said, okay. So we get a little bit further. We get to 287. We're almost to 287, like at the light, which is, for those that don't know, it's 5 minutes, right? And he was like, Mom, we got to go to the bathroom.
Not gonna make it.
I'm not feeling good. I was like, okay, we don't want to risk getting in the line for the school on the first day and you have to go to the bathroom because, or you have to throw up or something, you know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long line. I was like, okay. And I was like, do you want me to take you home? Do you want me to take you, stop? He was like, just stop somewhere. Well, the only place you can stop that's open at 8 in the morning right there is freaking Waffle House. Which, I mean, I've never been in the Waffle House bathroom here in Waxahachie, but I've been in other Waffle House bathrooms.
It's about as scary as you think it'd be.
It's not where you want to be if you're sick, you know. And so I was like, okay, sorry, son. You know, he goes inside.
Best of luck.
He's in there just for a minute. He's not in there very long. He goes, I can't go to school. I am so sick right now. I was like, okay, let's go home. I'm not going to send you to school the first day sick. Like,
Yeah.
And he loved school. He was so happy to go to school.
Yeah.
So I turn around. I said, why don't you go lay down, see how you feel. If you feel better, we'll take you. If not, whatever. So then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stay downstairs where I can pay attention to him to see how he's feeling, you know. And I start cleaning downstairs. And I don't really clean my living room area a lot because we don't use it. We're not TV people. I have maybe sat on that couch twice. Like I've never seen Rick on the couch. We don't sit, we hang out in the kitchen, in the dining area. And the kids hang out in there to play video games, but it's usually just one of them at a time sitting in this one little corner playing their video games. I do have to get onto them for leaving shit over there occasionally, but like I just don't really go over there.
Yeah.
Holy
not your
shit.
domain.
Yeah, I went over there and lost my shit. Lost my shit.
I can imagine. I can't even imagine what you found. That's scary.
I found about 5,000 batteries used, trash, basically. I found 3 candles that had been totally used and were now containers for batteries.
Wow.
I found containers that had food in them one point. There was no food in them, but, like, you couldn't walk over there. And why were you eating there? I don't, you know. I found so many cups and no silverware, which is odd because I'm missing half my fucking silverware. So no telling where that is.
I tell you, that's a mystery right there. It's like socks.
It's
socks
insane.
and silverware, man.
And so then I'm like, what? Okay. So I start, you know how it is. One thing leads to another. So at this point, by the time I got to the corner with the table. I had already cleaned like baseboards, windows, clean the windows, clean the trim, replace one of the curtain rods. Realized I cleaned the floor, and then I looked up and realized my walls were dusty because my house has 12-foot ceilings and it's an old house, so it gets dusty easy. So then I'm sweeping the walls, which makes all the dust come down. So I've got to re-vacuum everything. And then I see the chair. I see the chair that I don't know why they're sitting in and not in their gaming chair, my chair, and it is disgusting. It is disgusting. Somebody has spilt something on it and never cleaned it. It is. You would think I had toddlers. That was it.
No,
that was it. So I start going off. So then Zoe suddenly felt better and wanted to go to school.
Oh, yeah. And exit stage left.
Yes. So I took him to school. He went to school an hour late, but he made it. Wow. So then I come back, and I'm cleaning, and you and I had plans to record, and I was like, I really want to get this done. So at this point today, I have done like 3 or 4 loads of laundry. I've put away laundry that was downstairs that I needed to move upstairs. I've washed some rugs and put them out, shaken out rugs before I did them. And I did all that stuff in the living room, and in the kitchen I did some stuff. And then I also now have cleaned my living room furniture. And my kids are still alive. I didn't kill them.
So far, so good.
Yeah. But, yeah. So Kelly's like, she gets here, she's like, I want to go shopping. And I'm like, I've got to do this because I'm feeding off the fury to be successful at cleaning it rather than just have the fury and come home and being reignited.
Yeah, I got you.
Don't have children. I mean, do if you want them, but understand that they're going to fuck up your couch.
Yeah, you're going to have toddlers until they move out.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen is when the last one moves out, and eventually they will all leave because I will make them. But when the last one moves out, I am going to make them get together and pitch in and buy me a new living room set of my choosing.
Right.
To replace all the living room sets they have destroyed because they have been so hard on them, which is really weird considering you don't watch TV. Like, it makes sense if we every night sit on the couches. We don't. I don't understand it. I do not. I'm like, it's so weird. Yeah, I don't know. So that's where I am in life.
Oh, well.
Pray for me.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So we're just going to go forward now, and we're going to go to the lake this weekend, and maybe I just want to invite them, little assholes. No, I'll invite them. I'll invite them. I'm just kidding. Anyways, what have you been doing?
All right. Well, I'm going to do a quick update on my therapy. So the last thing that I left y'all with was my new challenge that my therapist had given me, which was to exfoliate. And I did purchase the things, and I did exfoliate. And I have to tell you, it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was, but it was good at the same time because I always have that obviously you feel good whenever you do something that you know is going to be like mentally hard to do. And right. So the feeling of overcoming that and you do just, your skin feels better when you exfoliate it and you take care of it right. And it's nice and it feels good. And then you're like, okay, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to look forward to the good feeling and get past the bad. So I did get the gloves, and the gloves did help not having to feel the grittiness of the texture of the exfoliant in my hands, because that was the hardest thing to get right. Past is like putting my hand actually in the exfoliant and having to touch it and then rubbing skin on skin. I just can't do that. So the gloves did help, but they are obviously coarse gloves because they're exfoliating gloves. So the combination of the gloves and the exfoliant felt like I was rubbing sandpaper on my skin. And it was oddly satisfying because it kind of hurt a little bit, and I'm a pain junkie, so I was like, do I like this or do I not like this? I'm confused. Right. But then there were times that my skin would touch and I would feel the grittiness of it, and so it threw me. So I was back and forth okay, this is good. No, I hate this. Okay, it's not so bad. No, I hate it. So I had to be really careful and just do one section, one leg at a time, then the arm, then the body. I had to section it out so that I didn't have the exfoliating scrub all over me at one time, because it
was a controlled process.
Yeah, it was difficult, but I got through it. I've only done it twice now, though, and 2.5 times, because the third time I only did it on my legs because I was about to shave, and so I just did it on my legs and not the rest of my body. But I'm working at it,
Baby steps,
baby
yeah.
steps. So I did it, and it was hard, but obviously it's a challenge. It's supposed to be hard, and so I was proud of myself for doing
Right.
it. So that's good. Don't have to go to a spa because that was definitely not going to freaking happen.
Right.
But anyways, and then I wanted to add a little bit of just like reasons to go to therapy. Obviously, not I'm a firm believer that everybody needs therapy at some point in their life. And therapy can look different from everybody. Not that you actually have to go to a licensed therapist and talk out your feelings, but any form of therapy or any form of like just self-love or, whatever that you can do is a good thing.
Like taking care of your mental health, not just your physical health.
It just really is. So whenever you are struggling and you are needing that like unbiased support, that's the biggest help that therapy can do, is having somebody that you can talk to who doesn't have any kind of connection to your life other than what you tell them.
Right.
Because
They can't judge
they're
you.
not your mom, they're not your girlfriend, they're not your boyfriend, they're not your best friend, they're not anybody that has any kind of biased opinion. Somebody who can be supportive. I'm not saying that it's not good to talk to your girlfriends or your boyfriends or your best friends about your problems. That is good. But having the unbiased support, somebody who's not necessarily going to sugarcoat things for you or who's not going to, tiptoe around problems all the time, it is very helpful. Someone who's going to actually push you to do the hard things, to hold you accountable.
Well, the thing is, you have to be willing to believe someone when they do tell you something you don't want to hear about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it always makes me think of like the Emperor's New Clothes, because when, the story, right? So the Emperor's New Clothes, they go around and there's a guy lying and telling them only the best of the best people, like you got to be a royal, you got to be fabulous to see this beautiful fabric. And if you don't see it, then there's something wrong with you. You suck. You're the problem. And then so everyone's like, oh my God. And the king doesn't see it. And he's afraid to admit he can't see his own clothes because that means he's a fraud. And then everyone won't admit it because the king's saying he can see it. So they need to say they can see it. And so then, but next thing you know, he's naked. Everybody's naked. Everybody's naked because they've all been lying to each other. And I think that goes for having someone that you can talk to, because I think that you make a mistake when you only talk to people that agree with everything you say about yourself. Like sometimes you have to be a good enough friend to be able to be like, hey.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do because it ends friendships a lot, because not everybody can receive that information. Like you got to be careful what you give out, but you also got to be careful to be able to receive it.
Yeah.
And so, again, choosing who you talk to, because you can't just give anybody information and be able to trust them to give you advice. Like there's some people you want to listen, and there's some people you want feedback from.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure this is a person that their feedback will be good for you. Like they'll have your best interest at heart without being biased. Does that make sense? That's a lot.
Yes, it does. And that they're not going to go off and talk about you as well.
Yeah, share your secret.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you have a therapist, you have that confidentiality that that you can trust.
Right.
If not, you're going to court. So
Also true.
also, whenever you're going through big life changes, it's another good time because you don't have to go to therapy all the time. You can go to therapy at different seasons and different times in your life. You can just, take a session here or there. Like it doesn't have to be, every Tuesday I got to go clock in. No, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be if you need that amount of therapy. It's very tailored to you. But if you just need it every now and then, that's a good thing. It's a good plug to have, to know that you have that support if you need it. And so if you're going through a really big life change, say it is you're moving, or you're having a job change, or you're about to get married, or you just got divorced, or there's been a death in the family, or you just had a kid, like anything that's going to obviously alter your life drastically, you need to make sure that you have that support and you have that somebody that's keeping you accountable to your feelings and how you're treating yourself and how you're treating your body, and are you getting enough sleep, and are you getting enough exercise, and are you making sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally and physically. Because a lot of times we can put ourselves on the back burner in a lot of situations in life, and that's not necessarily the best thing. You know, they always say if you're on an airplane and you have to put the air mask on yourself before you try and put it on your infant child.
Right.
Because if you pass out,
then you're both screwed,
basically. Then you're both dead. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first, because if you're not, you can't properly take care of anybody else.
And I think that parents have a tendency of putting themselves in a situation, moms in particular, but I mean, I know dads that do as well, where they put themselves in a situation where they put all their energy into their children or their marriage, and then they lose themselves. And that ends up making everything fall apart, because eventually if you lose yourself and you don't take care of yourself, then everything will crumble.
Yep.
You can't not be healthy with yourself and expect a healthy household.
Yeah, you have to keep that foundation.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I'm going to throw out there is when things are really good. Sometimes people don't think about going to therapy when things are all sunshines and rainbows in their life. Yeah. But just because things are going really good, that doesn't mean that you don't need to check in on yourself.
Right.
Because sometimes when things are going really good, it's going really good because you're actually trying to outshine something that you are neglecting to bring to the forefront of your brain or your psyche or whatever it is that you're dealing with. And I've done that before in my life. I have been sunshine and rainbows. And it's like every day is my birthday and just rocking it. And the reason that my mind was doing that and how I was having this like euphoria and happiness and everything seemed so great. And it was because my brain was wanting to keep me from thinking about the things that were very hard that I just wasn't dealing with. And so I had stuff that I just swept underneath the rug and forgot about because my brain felt like that's how it needed to handle it. And because I dissociate, that's what my brain does. Right. It will completely sever off parts of my memory and parts of my thought and even people and situations and all. I will completely forget about things because my brain is trying to help me and it's trying to keep me alive and it's trying to keep me thriving.
Right.
And so, you know, even if things are going really good, I'm not saying that is always going to be the case for everybody, but even if things are going really good in your life, that you still need to make sure that you're maintaining a healthy line of communication with somebody. You know, check in and make sure you're crossing all your, you know, T's and dotting your I's, right, even when things are great. And
also I think sometimes when things are great and they really are going great, checking in helps you recognize what you're doing right. Yeah. So you can keep doing it right.
And you get to celebrate your wins because sometimes you don't celebrate your wins.
Or recognize what you're doing right just because it's like, wait a minute, I have not been drinking as much. Yeah. Or I have not been talking to this person who was bringing me down. Mm-hmm. Or I have not look how my life is right now. Like I think sometimes it definitely
helps you to keep track of patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely does.
I like it. All good.
Yeah.
All good.
So I just want to do a little, therapy catch up. That's obviously my. I like to talk about therapy. We all know that. So, but
we're not therapists.
we're not. I'm only sharing my personal journey because I think that it helps to be able to hear from somebody else's perspective, and you never know what's going to resonate with someone. So I like to be very open and honest when it comes to my journey to help encourage other people to talk about theirs and just create safe spaces with people. So.
Right. I like it.
Another little funny thing. So obviously I've been on a fitness journey as well. I was trying to be more active and, just be healthier overall. And so, but Dante came in the other day. So we have a scale, and he came in the other day to weigh himself, and it cracked me up because, I'm a girl, and I don't know that all girls do this, but I definitely do this. Whenever I weigh myself, like I take everything off. Like I want literally my true weight. He walks in and he's got his clothes on. He's holding his phone in one hand, and then he has a honey bun and a glass of juice in the other hand. And he goes and he stands on the scale. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what? I was like, you can't weigh yourself holding. I was like, you got a honey bun in one hand and a glass of juice in your phone, and like.
Probably his work boots,
he's
I'm
like,
imagining.
what? I was like, when I get on that scale, I am butt ass naked. I
Right.
said, I don't have anything. I'll take everything off. I was like, I didn't even take my glasses off. I don't even wear socks. And he just
Nothing.
started laughing. He's like, oh my gosh. I said, that is the difference between men and women weighing themselves.
That is the truth. That is the truth.
I'm not gonna be fully clothed with shoes on, and especially holding things. Why
Yeah.
would you weigh yourself like you're holding things?
Even like walking by the mirror, you know, from our bed to the bathroom is my vanity, and it's got this big mirror, and you have to walk past it to go, you know. And so Rick will get up and get out of the shower and come out of the bathroom in his underwear, or he'll be going in there in his underwear or whatever, and he'll walk past the mirror, and he stops and flexes or like poses for me almost every time. He does it all the time, and he'll be like, "You see this? You see this?
Are you seeing this?"
Yeah, he just turned 44, so he wouldn't say 44, but if it was today, but it was like literally probably 2 days ago, he'll be like, "You see this? 44. You see this? 44, and this is what I look like. You see this?" And I'm like, I fucking hate you. Because I walk by and I'm like, oh, girl, you need to work on that. He's over there. I look so damn good.
It's just completely different.
Yeah, I don't even work out. He'll like totally just talks himself up. I'm like, rah, 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 rah. You're awesome. I hate you.
There's a difference right there.
That is a difference. Yeah. Nah, men.
Hey, Zeta, you know what time it is?
What time is it, Kelly?
It's time to pop the top.
On the topic of the day.
All right, so for our topic of the day, we are going to be talking about past trauma and the different ways that you can find yourself dealing with past trauma and kind of why that comes about. So,
The reason this came up is because I never can decide if I want glasses on. The reason that this came up is because I recently had a conversation with someone, with one of my kids, and they've been having a hard time, like, kind of reconciling some stuff from their childhood, and not like things. You know, we're not talking sexual abuse or any of that kind of stuff. It's just, you know, people letting them down, or, you know, he experienced going through, you know, things, and didn't get to advocate for himself because he was still a kid living it in the kid's view.
yeah.
And especially, you know, if you're a younger kid, like you really don't even understand until
Yeah.
you're out of the situation. And then you look back and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was mad about this.
Yeah.
Like this really hurt my feelings, or this really affected me this way. So in this particular case, you know, it had to do with one of my kids, how they felt about my divorce, and not about the divorce part, not about the problems between their dad and I. It was just how they felt in the middle of the divorce,
Yeah.
which is totally valid.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that my kid feels comfortable coming to me and saying, hey, you know, this is how I feel about this, and, you know, and this is how I'm reacting to this, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give details and such because it's not my story to tell. But I do think it's an important conversation about letting somebody have an opinion about something that happened to them 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, once they reach the age where they can have the conversation as an adult, and now they can form words and understand their feelings better. And I think it's our job as their parents, or our job as their loved one, or our job as we could be their significant other at this point. Or maybe it's two siblings that lived it together.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, we need to be able to let them talk about it. And we need to be able to own our own mistakes that were part of it. And it's hard to do that because it's like rehashing shit.
Yeah.
And it's like you're bringing up old shit, and that's what people like to say. Oh, you're just bringing up old shit, or
Yeah.
oh, that's all. You know, you just got to get over it, or you know, I told you I was sorry,
Yeah.
or you know, when that's not the right response. They were never able to advocate for themselves. They were never able to give their opinion. No one ever asked their opinions when they're that little, usually, because you think you're shielding them, but they know.
Yeah.
You know, and they might not. They might not know because they heard things. It might be how they felt because they sensed it. It could be, or because of changes in behaviors of one of the parents or a sibling or whatever the case is. And so after talking to them, I just really felt like they needed to really think about it too. I think that, they got a little bit upset and started overthinking it maybe. And once they started thinking it, they got madder and madder, and they lashed out at someone. It wasn't me, but they lashed out at someone that they were mad at over it. And I had to kind of reel them in and be like, hey, y'all are doing good. Y'all been doing real good. You can't dismiss the good that's happened since then because you're mad about something now.
Yeah.
We need to deal with that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it affected you. Let's talk about what you would have done better. Let's talk about what we could do better now. Let's talk about resolutions and your feelings, like hold people accountable, that's fine. But let's not forget what has happened since then.
Yeah.
And so it's hard.
It definitely can be. And having dealt with past trauma myself and going through therapy for it, it's very much a need for validation sometimes, because when you're young, you can't advocate for yourself. Sometimes you don't even realize how big a certain thing is until you get older and you realize, oh, whoa, that was not okay. That was way over the line, and it should have been addressed, and it wasn't. And so it's totally fine to still feel hurt, and to still feel shame, and to still feel like you want, what's the word?
Validation.
Well, not even validation, but you could even want somebody to pay still because they never did.
Yeah.
And so you might feel like you never had your payment. You were never, can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of here. But yeah, you want to almost even the score, I guess you could say, because
Revenge,
you're like,
almost.
and though all of those feelings are totally valid feelings.
Right.
Do you necessarily need to act on those? No, because that would not be a healthy thing for you to do.
But if you can have the conversation, that would be healthy.
Yes,
to do.
because sometimes you can feel like things got swept under the rug, or people weren't held accountable, and you just don't feel like you can lay these things to rest because you were taken advantage of because you were so young. And so because you were so young, your feelings weren't taken into account, because maybe it is a divorce, or maybe it is there was a death in the family, and you never got to talk out how it affected you because you were too young. They figured you didn't have the feelings then.
Right.
But
A lot of times I think they think they're protecting kids, and they don't discuss it with them.
That's very true. And so regardless of what it is that you're working through, it's totally fine to feel like you can't put these things to rest, and you feel like you need to bring it up so that it is handled in the correct way, and you're given your time to work through it properly now that you're old enough and you realize the effect that it had on you.
Right.
Because sometimes, you have to re-break a bone in order for it to heal properly.
Right.
And that is very much a sense in your mental health. Sometimes you have to break that bone again and reset it so that you can heal properly, and so that you can get the full range of motion that you need, and so that you can move forward living a better quality of life than you were when you didn't feel like your feelings were validated.
Well, and I think a lot of times what happens, particularly in a divorce situation, but again, it can apply in so many ways. It can be applied to so many things. But in a divorce situation, as being someone who's been divorced and as a child of someone that's been divorced, I've lived it in different ways. And the thing with that is that we have to understand that our parents, all parents, don't get a manual.
Yeah, you have no clue. No clue what to do.
and every kid is different. So you might be on your third or fourth kid and make a whole new mistake because this kid's so different that it's different. You might have a second marriage and it's a new mistake in that marriage you didn't have in the first one too. It can be that way. And so I know that as I got older and I had to deal with some of the things that some of the trauma I had when I was growing up, and I've discussed it openly here. I had a pretty wild childhood. There's a lot of wonderful things about it, but there was also some pretty fucked up aspects of it. And I really had to forgive, but also put myself in their shoes. and what got them to where they were. And that's part of when you get older, how your feelings change about things that you thought you felt a certain way about it when you were a kid. So you might you might go through a divorce with your parents, and you might think, this parent did everything. This parent was awesome. They never yelled at me, and they never did this. And then you don't realize that other parent was pulling all the weight, and they were exhausted. And yeah, they probably did snap at you because you were always with them, and you were having to clean. They didn't get to be the fun parent; they had to be the real parent.
Yeah.
Or it could be another way around. Like, there's just different ways of looking at it. And I know that there was a lot of issues that I had with my stepmom, and my dad at one point, that as I gotten older, I realized was misplaced, and they didn't deserve that. And it affected our relationship. And the same goes for my mom.
Yeah.
There were things about her that I held her accountable for, and I was hard on her about as a young adult when I started, understanding the trauma I went through and holding her accountable. And then as I got older, my whole aspect of it changed again. I have a whole new view of it. And now it's of forgiveness and love. And honestly, I look up to her. She pulled herself out of some shit. And yes, we went through some shit. But we had some amazing things too. And I think that I'm probably going to have a new view of it 10 years from now, 15 years. When I move to my next stage of life, I'm going to see her through a new stage of life. Unfortunately, she died at 61. There's only so many more stages I have left of viewing her.
Yeah.
But I think that that's very healthy to do. If she was alive, I know we would have more conversations about these things. I had those conversations when she was alive. I had those conversations with my dad, who's still alive. My stepmom and I had those conversations. And it's so freeing for all of us. And so I really encourage other people. So when I had this conversation with my kid the other day, it's almost like, there were some things he was holding me accountable for. And I was like, you're right. I'll own that. Yes, definitely. I wish I'd handled this differently. I wish I had, done this instead. Everybody makes mistakes. I think that we have to understand that we can hold someone accountable, but we also have to recognize the situation.
Yeah.
That was a lot to say that way, but it's true.
It is true. It's true.
And
you
it's
can,
freeing.
you can still love and care for somebody and still hold them accountable, and you can still be mad at them, and you can still be like, okay, I need to work through these feelings, and before we can get back to where building our relationship again.
And that goes in friendships too.
Oh yeah,
Because
across the board.
We've all had friendships where somebody is a taker and someone is a giver. And we've all had friendships where somebody maybe dropped the ball and then maybe tried to pick it up later and we didn't let them. And, sometimes you want to reevaluate and decide, did I drop that ball? And maybe I want to talk to this person again. I need to talk to them and figure out what really happened.
Yeah.
Some friendships are worth that. Some are not.
Some you drop that ball for a reason.
Sometimes you just drop that ball and you let someone else pick it up.
Roll on out of here.
I'm kind of at that stage right now, and you know this because you and I talk about it. But I'm kind of at that stage right now where I've been dropping balls. I've been dropping balls in friendships,
and left and right.
And not that I don't want to be their friend, and not that I don't consider them a friend, but maybe I don't want to continue bouncing that ball with them anymore. Maybe I want to see them a little bit less and enjoy their company a little bit more one-on-one, So like my girls' weekends have gotten smaller.
Yeah.
Not because I don't enjoy everybody's company as much. I just found that when too many people were together, it took the joy out of it. It was too much work. Not just physically, mentally.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get that many people jiving, I guess.
It definitely can be.
And so,
especially if any kind of stimulant or depressant is involved in it.
That could do it too. That could do it too.
You never know other people's headspaces. Even people that you've known for a really long time. They can be at a certain point in their life or be in a certain headspace, and when put into that environment, who knows what's going on, and something could set them off, or they have a little bit too much to drink and they're not acting how they usually act. Like, you really never know what's going to happen.
I had a friend in the last few years that I vouched for. I vouched for this person, and then they behaved very poorly and embarrassingly for me as someone who vouched for them, and then it makes it hard to want to hang out again.
You get that sour taste in your mouth. It takes a while to get that out.
It really does.
If ever.
Yeah, it really does. And it goes the same, for, when you have a give and take friendship, because there are relationships where one of you is always meeting more than halfway. And I think that that's one of those things, like evaluating, just like when you're a kid and something bad happens and you get older and you evaluate it. I think if you're a friend for 10 years and 10 years down the road, you realize that for 10 years you've been doing all the work, it's okay to also reevaluate that.
Yep.
I wouldn't call it a past trauma, but it is a, reevaluate who you're putting your energy into and what you're putting your energy into.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for, like, my kid the other day when I was I wasn't redirecting, but I kind of was like pushing back as in, okay,
Yeah.
now you got it off your chest. What can we do? What can we do?
Let's move forward here.
What can we do to move forward, but also deal with it so
Yeah.
that you feel like you got some closure, you feel like you got your word in there, you feel like someone listened to you, you feel like you were heard, like all of that's real, but it's got to have an end result.
Yeah.
Like you've got to have a goal.
Yeah, you can't live in that victim mindset forever.
Yeah,
'cause
you
it's
can't
not
spend
good.
the rest of your life,
Yeah, you
Matt.
can't.
No, you cannot. And
I mean, you can, but I wouldn't advise it.
no, it's not good for
That's
anybody.
not living.
No. And so after about a week, I revisited it and I was like, hey, what do you think? Like, where are we on this? What do you feel like you got this out? Like, you feel like you need to have more conversations? And no, I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want to. I said what I had to say. And I was like, okay, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm like, hey, again, we can't forget the good. We can't forget the work that's been done. We need to understand that this person did own some mistakes, but they didn't own them all, but they did own some of them, and we've seen improvements. So let's tell them, without screaming at them, how we feel again, and see if now that they've been thinking about it for 2 weeks, they recognize this needs to be dealt with deeper. And I was shot down again. And but then they came to me a few days later and said, you're right. I've been thinking about what you're saying. And I will reach out eventually, but I'm not ready right now. I am mad, but I do see myself forgiving.
Well, that's good. You seasoned that stew a little bit.
Well, the goal was I don't want my kid or anyone I love to stew in a pissed off world. Like that's no life. That's no quality of life.
But sometimes you do have to. Sometimes you got to stew for a while, and
yeah.
I mean
And that's okay, but not forever.
Yeah, it's a hard time, but it is a necessary time. And sometimes it's longer than you think that it should be, but you don't get to decide how long that takes. Even though we could want to, and even though we can do all we can to try to push somebody along, it's going to take as long as it takes for them.
But I don't think that this is even about the person you're mad at that point. I
Yeah,
think
I know.
at that point you're hurting yourself, and that's my
true.
worry.
Yeah, it is true. But sometimes that is part of
gotta
the
do
process. It's part of the process. It hurts. Hurts to rip off a Band-Aid, and so sometimes we just leave them on, and then you leave a Band-Aid on for too long, and then you get an infection, and because you didn't change the Band-Aid, and then you got to learn, but
I think though, again, if it's a person that if someone can hurt you that bad, they're usually worth fixing it. Now, not always. You don't want to fix it with some crazy ex or whatever the case is. But I'm just saying that there are cases where you want to fix it.
Yep.
And you don't want to have regrets. You don't want to look back 30 years from then and been like, man, I hadn't talked to my brother in 30 years or whatever the case was. And I had a conversation with my sister recently whenever we had gone to San Saba for my cousin's funeral and everything. And we got to spend a lot of time together for a minute there. And we were just talking about things from growing up. Now, understand that Zola and I, my brother and I, not my son Zola, but my brother and I, we are only 2 years apart. And we had the same father, and so we grew up in the same environment. I mean, as long as Zola remembers, I was there. And as long as I remember, Zola was there. And so that was, our whole lives are connected to each other. My sister is younger than us and has a different father than us. And we had lived a very different life prior to her arrival into this world. So we remember a time before her, and we remember a life before her, and then remember her, and we love her being in the life. Like, that wasn't it. It wasn't like, it was just there. It just existed, if that makes sense.
It's a different stage.
Yes. And so now when we talk about things in our childhood, our views are so different on so many things we went through that we were both there for. But her view of it being younger than I am, and I think she's 7 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Her view of it and my view of it are so different. And I'm sure Zoel's was different too, because experiencing something, let's say she was 10 and I was 17, you're going to see two different things.
Oh, yeah.
And when she was 15 and I was 22, we're going to see two different things.
Think about like rewatching one of your favorite childhood movies and you're like catching like different things that you didn't catch when you were 10 years old.
Yes, like the adult innuendos.
Hold on. Like,
Yes.
and your brain is wired a different way now because you've created different synapses that connect to different things that were not there when you were 10 years old.
Right.
So you see it completely differently.
And I left the house at 16, and she and Zoe left the house at 16. Okay, so we both left when we were 16, which means she was very young. And she left the house I got custody of her when she was 15. I took her. I think she was 15. And so she lived a large portion with just my mom, like when my mom was single. And at one point, my mom was married to someone that I knew, and I liked him. He seemed okay. But I didn't ever live with him. I didn't really know him. I met him maybe 10 times total ever before they divorced. But he was hugely important to my sister. He was a very good stepdad to my sister. He, on paper, did not look like he was worth a shit, but in person, he was very kind and loving, and he could have done things that were bad, and he did not, and he protected her in many ways. And she has fond memories of this person that I barely remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember his kids' names that were my step-siblings. I have zero clue what their names are. What? I don't remember what they look like. Nothing. And I was an adult.
Yeah.
I wasn't the little kid. I was the adult, but I was already married. I was an adult. I had my own life, my own career, a husband. I think I might even have Zoe at this point, And so when we talk about these things now, she might be mad about something to me that is just not even important. And then something that was important to me, it didn't even know it existed, or she saw it completely different. And I find it that's why we got to really sometimes put ourselves in the other person's shoes. And that those shoes might only be different because of the age.
Yeah.
Or maybe you were younger and they protected you from knowing things, and I knew them. And now do I want to tell you? You know what I mean?
Do I open up Pandora's box?
I want to open up Pandora's box. I just think it's really important to have healthy conversations and be willing to accept those conversations from people that are hard. It is hard for me to hear from my kid about something that affected them during my divorce 15 years ago.
Yeah, it is hard because that's hashing things up for you as well.
It is.
Even though you are understanding that it's important for their mental health to go through this, it's also taxing on your own.
It is.
And you have to, that's where boundaries come in. And you can be like, I am here for you, but you also have to respect my boundaries as well. And you have to respect my mental health. I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to help do whatever I can to help make this better for you. But you have to understand that there are other people's mental health that come into play, and you have to respect theirs as well.
You're not the only one that it affects.
You got to put up those boundaries, and you got to keep people in check.
Yeah. It's so hard. It is hard. Do you see how much balancing is required?
Yes. That's
a lot of balancing.
That's why having support is so important.
We're going back to therapy, back to the conversation.
Don't take it all on your shoulders. Don't feel like you have to have all the answers or that you are going to make all the right decisions, because you're not going to. So don't put that pressure on yourself, and don't do it alone.
Right. I agree. I think that's a good conversation.
Yes.
And I think that it's, I think a lot of times when women in particular, we take the weight.
Yeah, because we feel like we have to be the nurturers and the fixers and the safe zones and
we screw
referees
ourselves over.
And
all of the above, Or instead of going to the doctor for that mammogram, we're taking the kid to a play date. Like we unhealthily put our families ahead of ourselves sometimes. So it goes with mental health too. You've got to take care of yourself, So I just thought it was a good conversation to have. Like, how can we help our loved ones and not hurt ourselves too?
Yeah.
It's a careful balance.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Love it. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. Maybe come back next week and bring a friend.
Yeah. And remember, there's always 3 sides to every story.
2 sides and the truth.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.